let the ball drop on our tradition of, celebrating African American History Month. And I thought we had a very healthy discussion as a board to think, well, all right, let's confess that and let's see what we can do for 18.
We had some help too, I might add,
Yes.
from our program director, from Dr. Vincent Thomas,
Yep.
to provide some structure and help us recognize that African American History Month isn't for February. It's like many months, it's all year round.
Exactly.
A lot to celebrate.
Exactly. It was in that context that we reached out to Dr. Neighbors, and he graciously agreed to come for a few minutes and just introduce himself and explain his role in the city. And it's my hope is that going forward, we can do more of this kind of outreach to different parts of our community just to make us a stronger district. So thank you, Dr. Neighbors, and welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Should I stand?
Please.
Maybe? So I don't want to have some people behind me. So, hi. So again, thank you very much for the invitation to come out. Robert, how are you? It's good to see you, and good to meet everybody else as well. But I'm grateful for the invitation to come out and speak for just a few minutes to the Ridgeville folk. I actually could have walked. I don't live very far from here. I'm on Mulford and Barton, and we are new homeowners. We went into 310 Barton August 1st of last year. So it's good to be here. And I'm relatively new to the community. We moved over into Evanston just about 2 years ago. So we were sort of leasing a home and looking around for a place to buy, my family and I, and married and have 3 children. Our oldest daughter finished Evanston Township High School her senior year last year and is a freshman now at Spelman in Atlanta. We have 2 other children. I have a 12-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, and both of them are students at Cara Valley, a 7th grader and a 2nd grader. And what caused us to move here from Bloomfield Hills was I was called to be the senior pastor of Second Baptist Church in Evanston. It's downtown. It's on Benson Avenue. We are in our 134th year here in the Evanston community. It's a church that has a considerable reputation for being an advocate for social justice issues. Not only that, but that's one of the hats that they've been proud to wear for a long, long time. And the congregation size is probably about 2,500, but we don't see that number of folks every Sunday. We have that on the roll, as they say. But we're very grateful to be a part of the Evanston community and to have gotten ourselves acclimated really through our position and relationship with the church. About in November, the NAACP of Evanston and the North Shore asked me if I would consider being president of the branch, and I accepted it as an opportunity that was basically pretty consistent with what I was doing at the church as well. And I brought some experience into that position. I've just started, but I was president of a couple of branches when I pastored in other parts of the country in New Jersey. So I have a quick learning curve in terms of the organizational, structural part of the NAACP. Now it's just learning personalities, which can be a bear. So I'm learning about personalities and people and the folks that we're working with. And I think that's a part of my being here tonight. Dan asked me if I would think about what it might look like in terms of collaborating with Ridgeville on a couple of issues. I think you have a wonderful consultant in Dr. Thomas in terms of what he said and the focus on the fact that African American experience ought to be celebrated year-round in Evanston. And as you all know, there's also an incredible African American historian, Dino Robinson of North Shore Legacy, who is a tremendous asset. If you haven't heard him or asked him to come before you, he can really give you some specific details on the movement of African Americans into Evanston and provide you specific statistical analysis about what created that move in terms of folks coming from the Deep South and moving here primarily as sort of help, hired help, And then, of course, very shortly after that, many African Americans wound up with their own businesses. And we're talking about the 1870s and 1880s. So another caveat for me is that, as strange as this may sound, it seems like I've been trying to get to Evanston all of my life. And I'm not exactly sure why. I heard about Second Baptist being open with a previous pastor in 2003 and thought I would be coming into the community at that time, but it didn't materialize. I told my mother, who died just a little after that, that I was potentially going to be relocating to Evanston, and she almost fainted. And my mother was 85, so fainting is not necessarily good, you know. And I said, "My goodness, Mom, what's the issue? What's the problem?" And she said that her maternal grandparents lived in Evanston, and she visited the place when she was a little girl, starting in 1925. They were homeowners at 1746 Gray Avenue, and her grandfather was an African-American podiatrist whose office was at 1617 Vincent. You know, and the church's address is 1717 Vincent. So I was like, my goodness, you know, in the vernacular of African American Baptists, I said, Lord, have mercy. It's an incredible kind of coincidence, an incredible kind of thing that's going on. And her grandmother was a seamstress and corset maker, and they lived in Evanston, at least her grandmother, from 1893 when she first moved. The records state that she was a colored Negro seamstress. That's the earliest record that lived on Dempster Street, you know, early on. So she was younger, and she died in 1959. My great-grandfather lived to be 106 years old, the podiatrist, and he died in 1986. And I just didn't know about them. My mom didn't talk about that side of the family. She talked about her dad's side of the family, but not so much the mom's side. So it's interesting coming in to this community and feeling, you know, wherever I go, like, man, you know, deja vu. You know, I just sense that and feel that, and so with those two hats in terms of the NAACP and the church, we would be very interested in trying to come up with some collaborative network where we could assist and help and aid Bridgeville in terms of exploring ways to build relationships with the African American community, to become more aware of the African American community in Evanston, and potentially, when I look at the map, Dino Robinson would share that at some point African Americans were spread out all over Evanston. It wasn't until after the 1930s that blacks were sort of moved into one area, which we now know as the Fifth Ward. But before then, starting out, they were everywhere. And I just find that very interesting. So he may have data and information about some of the early African American settlers in this particular area, which I think would be fascinating and very interesting. And I think the other piece would be how can we in the African American community avail ourselves to some of the work that you're doing, and how can we find possible points of collaboration, both at Second Baptist and with the NAACP. So, you know, we want to put ourselves out there and make ourselves available to you as potential partners and allies in some of the work that you're doing. And at the same time, we want to bring some of our own experiences and some of our own education and background that might be able to help you out as well. So that's about it. And if you have any questions, any
Now,
thoughts?
you just being modest, Pastor Neighbors, we're happy to have you not only in the community but also as a pastor, and he lives right in the 8th Ward, so I'm very excited about that. But one thing of note I wanted to say that he was the president of the Detroit NAACP, and correct me if I'm wrong, and they are the largest. I think they have the largest chapter in the country at somewhere around 40, maybe 20,000 or somewhere in there, or 20 to
40 on the roll.
on the road. Yeah, on the road.
Yeah.
40,000.
On the roll. Yeah, about 40,000.
40,000.
But one thing I can say about the chapter in Detroit, they have always had the largest Freedom Fund banquet. And the Freedom Fund Banquet is the primary fundraiser for most NAAC branches. Evanston has one, and the 2 years that I've been here, it's been at the Evanston Country Club over on Dempster. Their Freedom Fund Banquet averages 10,000 people, and it's held at Cobo Hall in downtown Detroit. So it is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the largest sit-down dinner on an annual basis. So that's pretty good. So I'm proud to be a part of that. I think I'm more proud of the work that I did in New Jersey when I served the Princeton branch of the NAACP, and then years later the Trenton branch as well. So again, we're excited about being here and trying to figure out what we might be able to do to find points of collaboration to work with you all.
We have Natalie with us tonight. We also have Jason Brown, who's a member of our Ridgeville Foundation. They're both, Natalie's a member of Arc Theater Company. Jason's done work. Jason's done some visual art and does some GIS work, some mapping. And I think in both of those cases, and with both of these individuals, you'll find ready partners. Find points for celebration throughout the history of Evanston. I'm very glad you brought up that point regarding Evanston's original diversity in the day, because while that story changed and became very sad for a very long time, even in that, there are many points of celebration, and we treasure those. And not simply those, but we treasure the stories brought to us by Evanstonians of Asian descent. We treasure those stories brought to us by Evanstonians of Latino descent. All of these are worthy of celebration, and that's why we're here as a park district. So, very much looking forward to it. Perhaps can we get a picture with you?
We can. If we can just read one little letter. Now, these flowers you can take home. Okay? I know it's a small token, but every spring when flowers come up, it reminds us that there is life in this world. And this is just a new season, and we're very excited. And as a board of commissioners, we write, Dear Reverend Dr. Neighbors, on behalf of Ridgeville Park District, we welcome you, and we give you most sincere thanks to our Board of Commissioners and neighbors. It is our true honor to meet you and have you join us this evening. Your devotion to fellowship and service, leadership of the Evanston North Shore NAACP, and commitment to the ministry is truly inspirational. We count ourselves lucky to share a community with you and for the opportunity to learn from your example.
Thank you. That's a great letter. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We were wondering if we could just get a quick picture here with you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sure. Community folks, y'all want?
Well, we thought our board.
Okay.
Natalie?
Yes.
Thanks for
I think it's okay. Actually, let's just shut this door if that's okay. I think it looks kind of nice with the Ridgeville signs back. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. I got a 5-second timer on that. Keep smiling. Here we go. All right, let me take one more. I'm going to turn that off. Just want to keep it good and dramatic for everybody. Okay. All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Excellent.
Thank you.
Looks good.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think one of the last things I'd like to say before, nice to meet you, before leaving, is that with Second Baptist Church, one of the things that I think they're good at doing is that when there's a crisis, when there's sort of like a national crisis that occurs, Second Baptist seems to have the reputation for calling the community, really the religious community, but we need to figure out how to call the entire community together and to engage in some kind of service. We've done a couple of services of lament. So in the summer of 2015, with the shooting that occurred at Mother Emanuel in Charleston, South Carolina, we felt an urgent need to call the entire community together. And, there were several hundreds of people that came together to lend some sort of expression of not only lament, but frustration in community. And we did the same thing last summer with the shooting at Club Pulse in Orlando. And so I think we have that kind of reputation. We're able to call folks together. I would like to figure out how we can also reach organizations like yours so that the email's not just going out to other houses of worship, but it's going out, everybody doesn't go to church or everybody doesn't go to synagogue. So we need to try to figure out how to reach everybody in the community that might be affected by a sort of seismic event like that occurs. So I wanted to share that as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Neighbors.
Okay. Thank you all very much. I got to run. Please have a wonderful meeting.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Very good. Moving along to the approval of bills. Thank you, Ben. You're correct. We actually have two sets of minutes here to review, or at least I received two. I'm not entirely sure what happened, January and February. Do you have both of them?
Yeah, February.
January's
According to
approved.
minutes, February had already been approved.
Yeah.
January.
The January
January,
minutes have been
yeah.
approved.
Yeah, it's labeled approved, so.
Okay.
it's got approved.
So then we have the February minutes to approve.
I move to approve as written the February 9, 2017 board minutes.
All in favor?
There's one correction. Motion number 5 has a typo on the dollar amount. It says 990, should read 3990. So my suggestion is approve as amended.
Motion 5.
Yeah, on page 3 of 4.
Move $9, and it should be how much?
3990.
That's correct.
Accepted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we move on to the approval of bills. What, do you have the color commentary on these, or should we?
I do have a few notes from Brian.
He's usually has something to say about it.
Yeah. He highlighted a couple of these things that he just wanted me to say out loud. So, Action Without Borders, the very top, that was a job posting for programs director, which I happily filled.
Thank you.
Citgo, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Evanston Lumber Company for $344.35. We built 2 new picnic tables that you can see outside, and that's what that lumber was for. Home Depot for $164.19. Those were for 2 saw blades. Let's see. The reimbursement for $21, that's because we washed the yoga blankets. And let's see, the Treasure Island for $21.63. That was candy purchased for the volunteer fair at ETHS that I went to.
I move to accept the March 9 corporate monthly bill summary for the amount of $11,844.72.
I'll second.
All in favor? Approval of petty cash expenditures. There are. Sure none.
Do we need a motion to accept the zero? You know?
I think to acknowledge that you've seen the report, yes.
All right, I move to accept the phenomenal amount of $0.00 on petty cash monthly bill summary for March 8, 2017.
I'd just like to add as well that it's nice not to have petty cash for a change of pace. Makes the accounting much more smooth. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Very good. We move move on to monthly reports. Unfortunately, Brian is ill with bronchitis. And I believe Anna Christina is not feeling well either. Natalie, thank you so much for wearing more hats than one probably could.
It's okay. My pleasure. Got all the papers where they were supposed to be. All the name tags are in the right spot. I feel good about that.
Will you share your report?
Yes, absolutely. Jason is actually here from the foundation, and we hosted his winter Perth event. We did it, it's called Rocks and Rolls, and I don't know if you want to speak about that, but we had about 30 to 40 people here. We had donations of soup and bread from Lucky Platter. What was the other one?
We had bread from Kuhn and from Great Harvest, and then we had soup provided by Lucky Platter and Crossroads.
And then Jason brought rocks and people painted rocks. We did that outside. It was a beautiful day. And then we created little rock gardens around the park. So when it's nice and light outside, you can walk around and check those out. I'm working right now on hiring our summer staff. I sent invitations to counselors that were here with us last summer, and I'm working with them right now to figure out who's available to come back. And I've had a couple interviews with some potential candidates. I'm going to the job fair this Saturday at ETHS with V. Witter. She's going to come with me to meet some more potential candidates, and hiring is going very well. Spring classes begin on May 20th. We're introducing a new class, Intro to Acting and Improv for Adults, on Saturday afternoons. If anyone's interested, tell your friends. Our Spanish class continues to be very popular. I think we had 7 or 8 people enrolled in the winter session, and they're all coming back for the spring session. So it looks like either this summer and the fall we'll run an intermediate Spanish class and a beginner Spanish class, since we've had a lot of interest. Sampler cards, I've sold a few of those. Those continue to be popular with adults, which I think is great. It gives them the flexibility of taking more than one class and the commitment to a full session. And I've been approached lately by a few potential instructors for an adult ballet class, an autobiography class, and a senior stretching class. So I have some meetings this week with people to discuss those for the future.
I have a question on the classes. Who's actually head of the acting and improv class? I'm just curious.
Joe Flynn, he's an actor that's been in like probably 6 or 7 of our Shakespeare shows here.
Okay.
So he's gonna instruct the class, and we've got 1 person enrolled, so need a few more, but hopefully we'll get it up and running. And I had some interest expressed to me. I guess there was I don't know if Mike Miro, maybe you were the one that told me, but a group of parents whose kids are involved in Mudlark that had tried to put together their own improv troupe, and I think Mike Miro was working with them for a while, and so I try to keep my ears open for things that people are excited about and interested in doing, and since that was one of the things that came up, I thought I'd give it a shot. So.
What's an autobiography class?
There's a woman who called who is moving to Evanston. She's actually going to live not very far from here, and she teaches it's a guided autobiography class. So it's a writing class, but she guides you through the process so you can essentially write your own autobiography. So I don't know if we'll run it or not, but she had called me and expressed some interest in talking about it. So
It's more writing.
it's a write-up, yeah.
Didn't we have, wasn't Sarah Lena Camholtz?
Yeah, she still does. She does our adult writing workshop class. I talked to her about it, and she said it sounds very different than what they do in their class, so it's not really a conflict, but yeah. And that's still running too. I've been working on the website. I created a celebration board, so if you have a second, visit it. There's now a tab on the very front. So where it used to say events, it says community celebration and events. And it still lists all of the events that we have here at the park. So our egg hunt, our Halloween event, things like that. But then there's also a link that'll take you to what I have called the celebration board, which essentially celebrates different cultures throughout the year. So for February, I did a spotlight on Dr. Neighbors, who is here tonight, in March in celebration of International Women's History Month. I highlighted Grace Wilbur Trout, who was an American suffragist here in Chicago in the early 1900s, who was instrumental in helping women get the right to vote. So you can read a little bit about her. Coming up in April, we have Asian Pacific American Heritage, and I have a whole list that I've been working on. So hopefully I can get some more speakers to come here throughout the year. We've talked about doing some documentary things, but I will also continue to maintain this.
I think
Celebration board.
that is a great idea. I'm so glad that, Natalie, you took the initiative to actually include cultures. That was what I had in mind a couple of years ago. You weren't here when I had a spotlight with a couple African Americans in February. That's just kind of how some of this all started. I had a Negro League baseball player who actually lives in the district. I don't know if you knew about that, but we highlighted that. And last year, we had Rick Marsh, who also lives within the district. We celebrated who was actually a professional basketball player in the NBA and has been in the community for 30 years. So I'm so glad that you took the initiative to do this, and I think this is going to be great going forward. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And if anybody has any ideas or other people that you'd like me to reach out to and talk to, I would love to talk about that. So take a look at that. And book discussion. We're holding a book discussion here on March 20th. I'm working with the Evanston Library for their community-wide read, which I talked a little bit about last month, but March 20th we'll be meeting here from 7 to 8 p.m. in the community house to discuss The Other Wes Moore that was written by Wes Moore. I have copies of it up in my office, so if anybody wanted to partake in that discussion, I would love to have you here. And then the farmer's market, I've got the 2017 vendor application updated. I've emailed it to our previous vendors and invited them back for another summer. I had a new vendor reach out to me today who sells soap, so I'm excited for that. I've got the application up on our website, and am working with Mike Miro to kind of catch up on how all of this fun farmer's market stuff happens.
Any dates yet?
Yes, we are running farmer's market from June 7th, I believe is that Wednesday, through October 11th. Wednesday evening.
The last couple of months, Natalie, constituents who've kind of given me some feedback about your involvement here with the district has just been fun to hear, because you're making a difference. Just who you are, the way you're positive and your outreach, you're engaging, and it's making a difference to constituents. They make it a point to say, boy, who's that Natalie? She's doing great. So,
that's nice to hear. Thank you for telling me that.
Have you any thoughts about perhaps driving additional traffic through increased signage with the help of neighbors?
I think it's great. I think any kind of marketing help is never bad. So
It's the time of year, seems to be a lot of yard signs.
yes, yeah.
And given that it's, perhaps the rest of the year, those yard signs could announce something more wholesome and filling, like visiting farmers market.
Yeah.
It'll take the neighbors agreeing, of course, but.
Right. I think that's a great idea. I'd be happy to redecorate, I guess, if you will, the signs. But I think that's awesome. I've been doing as much as I can through social media and emailing. I started doing a monthly newsletter, which I'm sure you guys all get from me. But I'm very conscious of taking advantage of our email list. I don't want to over-email, but I also want everybody to know what's happening and what's available for them here. So, I've created this newsletter. So, yes, any kind of signage, marketing, I want everyone to know about our classes and camps and special events. So I think that's a good idea.
I had a couple questions from constituents about the boxes, the garden boxes out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that garden table is not happening this year.
No.
So what's happening with those?
Well, that's great. That's a great question. When I started here in September, one of the first things that kind of fell into my lap was that our instructors for the Garden to Table program that have taught the past few years were not going to be available to do it again. So because I was under I had to get the brochure put out, I had to kind of make a decision quickly about that. So what I tried to do was run a Garden to Table workshop series throughout the year, which I haven't completely said no to. We didn't have anyone enroll for the first few workshops that we offered. I was working with Green Edens to get those rolled out. But anyway, so what's happening with the garden in the meantime is there's a group of gardeners that have been involved with the Garden to Table program in the past few years that wrote a proposal to me and Brian about renting the beds. So we've kind of worked that out with them, and they're going to be running it for this season through this like kind of interim period where I can figure out what to do with the Garden to Table program. But there's 6 of them. I think they're open to more people too. It's just those were the 6 that came forward and wanted to be a part of what this was. So they are renting the beds March 15th through November 15th. A portion of their produce is going to go to Edible Evanston, and then a portion of their produce will come back to Ridgeville so that I can run a cooking class in the fall. But they're taking it on, and they're doing all of the maintenance and the planting and the harvesting, and yeah.
And are any more of those available? If anybody else wants that?
Sure. Yeah, if they want to. Sandra Madison, who had taught the class last year, she was the first person that approached me about this idea. So I've been kind of working with her to get this situated. So I've been putting calls out on social media and in our emails about interested gardeners that wanted to be a part of that. So anybody that has been interested, I've been kind of giving them the rundown and then redirecting them to Sandra. So I think so far I've had like a couple people respond to me about that. But yes, if anybody that you know is interested in being a part of that, I would love to have them email me and I can tell them about it.
Didn't they come to one of our board meetings a
Yes.
few months ago
They
and
did.
describe this program?
Yeah.
So maybe it was one,
Maybe I missed
you missed that presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
placeholder, but we're looking forward to a long-range solution for the new program.
Okay.
Yeah, but they have been a part of it for so long, and when they talked to me, it was like they feel very passionate about that garden, and they've spent a lot of years working in it. So I think they're really excited to keep it growing and looking good, and they've got a lot of really good plans. So I'm excited.
Okay.
Yes.
We have Brian's report.
Yep, I am ready for that too. Brian's report. We have posted summer jobs and are currently taking applications. Natalie Salias done a nice job of working with returning staff, interviewing potential new staff, and attending job fairs. Natalie will also be attending the Mayor's Job Fair on Saturday, March 11th. Our Golden Egg Hunt will take place on Saturday, April 8th at 11 a.m. sharp. In addition to the egg hunt, we will have Mr. Bunny here and children's entertainment, which is Stacy's music, in the main studio until 12:15. Please feel free to stop by. The maintenance crew has taken down the ice rink and stored it. We could not save the liner, and it has been recycled. We will purchase a new one in late June during Nice Ring's annual firecracker sale. Our inconsistent weather created just an average to below average season of skating. Excuse me. We hosted the mayoral primary election here on February 28th. We will also be hosting the mayoral aldermanic election here on Tuesday, April 4th. 2 precincts were assigned to our community house. The building will be used for the elections from 5 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. Spring break camp will take place this year from March 27th to March 31st. V. Witter will direct that camp, and her counselors will be Brian Richards and Wesley Shavers. I have no updates on Brummel CDBG. Hopefully we will have some concrete news by April meeting.
Ben, you know the price for the liner? Do you have any?
I don't
So
remember.
you're
No.
just curious.
Yeah, probably $400.
Oh,
Can't hear a word, sorry.
Yeah,
what?
oh, he asked what the price of the liner was, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's probably $400 or $500. Do you happen to know, Brian mentioned there's a cleanup day in April, do you happen to know that date?
Yes, it's April 22nd.
April 22nd?
If I'm talking about what I think he's talking about. We're partnering with the city of Evanston for their Arbor Day, Earth Day Cleanup Evanston event. And I'm working with them for the event is April 22nd. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Ruben and I will both be hosting a park, and I'm working with Kumar from the city of Evanston to set up our volunteer website. It's all through there. So that will be a hot link probably in the next week or so. So that volunteers
you're
can.
looking for volunteers basically?
Yeah, yeah.
For just Ridgeville or for the whole city of Evanston?
They're looking for the whole, there's places all over Evanston.
Okay.
So, gosh, I can't remember. The high school was there. There were some other organizations here in Evanston that were at the planning meeting with me, but there's gonna be all kinds of things for people to do. I know they're gonna have people use canoes to clean the river or the canal. Or, yeah,
And
That's
would we-
adults and, I'm sorry, that's adults and
kids, yeah.
kids, okay.
Mhm. Yep.
And would we sign up here for that, or should we look out for the city?
I will put as soon as they get the link up at the city, he's gonna send it to me, and then people will sign up through the website. So there's a special, it's called Volunteer Evanston, that I've created an account through per their request. And I will put that on our website. It will also be available on the city's website, and then people can just log in and sign up for whatever they wanna do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Very good. We move along. I don't think Anna Christina had a report. Jerry?
Okay. I handed out a packet of the financial reports. At the top of the pile is a request and recommendation for a board motion. Second page of the packet is a list of the unresolved outstanding accounting items that have been lingering for a while. The motion is related to those. It's to address some of those, not the entire list. Brian and I met to go through the list. Natalie was with us as well. He had been doing a fair amount of homework and research trying to figure out what are the problems behind why these unresolved transactions still exist. We've got resolution on some of them. He's been tasked with going back and working with Anna Christina and others to research some of the others further before we have a recommendation as to how to proceed. This is typically what we do about this time of year. I'm trying to get the outstandings caught up and cleaned up as we're getting closer and closer to financial year end. And it just is usually a 2 or 3 month long process of my constant nagging people to fix the problems that have arisen. So the motion tonight, the items total a gross of $646.32. Some of them are pluses, some of them are minuses. I haven't tried at this point to figure out what the net number is, but it just is a convenient way to reference on the 646.32. First item is an item that was paid to the city of Evanston twice. You were presented with it on the corporate bills on 2 different months, but we only paid it once. The second item and the third item are similar in that we issued refunds to residents in the district for classes that got canceled. Rather than cash the checks, they signed up for other things and got deducted off of their sign-up fee, the amount, so the checks never got cashed. So that's what those are about. The fourth item for $102.55 is another double posting to the city of Evanston. It was included on both your October and November bills reports. The fifth item is a bank card charge from a few years ago, and the office has just never been able to figure out where the paperwork is to support that and get it on the bills. I just finally said, look, give them the dollar amount, let's just write that off and make it. We know generally it was probably related to the credit card processor we had back in that time. We've since switched to another vendor. The $259.45 is a double posting of V. Witter's paycheck back in November and December over a year ago. I've been waiting for the payroll clerk to identify where the double posting amounts are in taxes and retirement and other funds, and have not been able to get a resolution. We've kind of hit a point where there's no way I can go back and correct those accounting entries because they're in a prior fiscal year. So I just said, let's just give up on that and write it off. We've got a currently active double posting of a payroll item from, I think, September or October of this year from Mike Miro. I'm still pressing to get resolution on that one, so we're not writing that one off yet. I just keep working on it. She made one attempt to try and get me the right numbers, but they didn't balance, so I kicked it back and said, try again. And then the last item is just a little penny. Apparently when she balances the payroll, there's frequently little penny rounding errors having to do with IMRF, and she normally just charges them off into the IMRF account. But on the April-May payrolls of last year, she misposted it into the federal withholding tax account instead. So I need
I
to get it
move to
there.
write off various outstanding unresolved items with a gross total of $646.32 as identified in the board meeting 310, written by Jerry.
A through G.
I'll second.
Question and just some brief discussion. The criteria Brian exercised in choosing these to write off, or
Those are the ones he's been able to research to my satisfaction, and we've kind of taken them as far as we can take them to deal with them. He had a list of a number of other items that I wouldn't agree to include for tonight because there's, I think, things they can do to still dig a little deeper and figure out what's going on.
Okay, and it seemed like there were a lot of double postings.
Yes,
Okay.
seems to be a recurring problem.
Why does that happen?
I
What are the reasons?
couldn't tell you.
I mean, at this point, it would require, we do see these every month. We approve them every month. So we have 5 sets of eyes. It is a matter of looking at some rather fine print and double checking the books ourselves. So one would think the office might catch this more readily. We'll want to keep that in
Is
mind.
this an electronic thing where it's double posted, or is this manual?
No, it's, in every case, she's never actually paid the money out twice. She's just included it for you to vote on multiple months in a row.
Oh, so it's just more our
Yeah.
reporting, okay.
Okay. Very good.
You know, my task is I basically have to take the monthly bills that you vote on and post that to our general ledger. I then try and reconcile that against the bank accounts of what actually gets paid, and then that's what surfaces there's a problem. Things don't balance, and then I have to figure out what's the transaction causing the problem, and that's how it gets on the outstandings report.
I see. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next page is the appropriations ledger. Given where we're at in the year, we would expect to be having, we would expect that we would have utilized about 63% of our budget. On the corporate fund, it's sitting at 61%, so we're in pretty good shape there. It looks like we're doing really well on the recreation fund because we're only at 46%, but if you recognize that the CDBG project for Bromo Park has not occurred yet, and if you factored in that 79,000, it would actually bring the utilization up to 63%. So bottom line, we're kind of tracking right where we want to be this time of year. And the overall total, same story. If you factor in the Bromo Park project and recalculate the numbers, it's right at 63%. So basically, we're tracking on budget. One line item that's a kind of relating to the outstandings and the other things, as far as it being processing problems in the office, preparing the monthly bills, is if you look at RA12, vehicle repairs and maintenance, we've used our entire budget for the year. That caught my eye, and I brought that to Brian's attention a month or so ago. He researched it and found what's been happening is that the fuel bills have been being posted to the wrong account. They've been being posted to the repair account instead of the fuel account. So he's issued a memo to me directing me to reclassify those items. Next month you should see the utilization of those two
Closer to
accounts.
60%.
Switch of it. Doesn't change the overall total,
Right.
but things are going to get posted to the right place. And actually in the first draft of corporate bills tonight, the same error was repeated yet again, but I happened to see the email in time to send her a note and say, could you fix that? So hopefully we've got that resolved for going forward.
Thanks, Jerry.
And I don't really have much more to add as far as the balance sheet and the trial balance and the statement of revenues and appropriations. If you do look at the statement of revenue appropriations, we look like we're running pretty well on budget back on the appropriations ledger. But the other way to look at it is how are we doing with revenue relative to our appropriations. If you look at the all funds total of the statement of revenues and appropriations, it shows that we have spent about $6,000 more than we've brought in revenue. That's just the timing of how taxes and programs come in. Most of that is in our liability insurance fund where we spent $10,000 more. Again, we pay that bill early in the year and then there's no more expenses the year goes on, so that will get a little better as the rest of the year plays out. That's all there is of note in the financials this month.
Any other questions on it? No? Very good, moving along. Capital Improvements Committee report, we have Lighter Park. I have nothing to report on that. Art Studio?
I have nothing to report on that either.
Okay. Question on Capital Improvement Committee report, should we consider including Brummel Park? This project is, I believe they would call it shovel ready at some point. We have the plans, we have the budget line items. We have the federal funds going, and then something happened in Washington DC that is slowed things down tremendously. But it's important for us to stay on top of it.
I think it's a good idea. I think, we might have to find another way to pay for it.
Well, we did put aside 20,000.
Right.
If you don't mind speaking up just a little, I couldn't quite hear. Sorry, Patrick.
He had simply mentioned that we already have 20,000 appropriated for it from our own funds. The challenge now is federal funding, the the block grants, haven't materialized. It's an important project. I mean, it's bread and butter. It's a playground, and Patrick brought up other potential funding sources. So,
There was something on the radio today just specifically saying that CBDG money is in danger.
Oh, really?
I was amazed. It was just on BDM radio, just kind of one of the news items. And I think it has been mentioned previously through Brian and some of his contacts, but I've never heard it out there, in the public.
is this something for us to pursue monthly in capital improvements?
Well, we should decide, how eager we are to get it built and, when do we have to take it down? I mean, do we have to take it down at the end of the season just because of its wear and tear and its condition? So I think that is probably the first question we need to look at. Because we were expecting to do it.
So I don't know if you
I
caught
can hear
that.
that, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
I think there's a value in having it on the agenda, just to keep our attention. Now, we have no control over the federal fund,
No, we don't.
but,
No, but we do have control over
Right.
the equipment as it
That's
stands.
right.
And Patrick brought up the excellent point regarding relative safety of using it. So it sounds like we should add it and consider that
Is there any way to do it partially?
to partially fund it.
Well, partially build it with the 20,000 we do have.
That would be a topic to explore. And I think, are there board members at this point willing to explore alternate options? Or even, for that matter, simply to pursue the block grant funds as they were originally promised?
And how do you go about following up with those?
The first place I would probably go would be Brian. And the second place I would go, with Brian's blessing, would be, at this point, the standing alderman, Ann Rainey, who's provided some push on it, the city committees as well.
I think they've already approved it, basically. I mean, so I think he's been dealing with Sarah Flack.
I'm not sure
She's been keeping him, Ryan, informed.
I see.
That right now it's on hold, so I think we just need to be thinking about what to do in light of, what are our alternatives, basically?
One would be considering the safety of the structure. That funds are already appropriated for its demolition. We may consider dispersing those if we consider the structure to be a problem.
We probably need Brian here for,
Yeah, I
This
think
needs
that's something we should
conversation.
talk about next month.
Between now and next month, though, Brian could look at it, like you said, Commissioner, I think that's a good idea, just assess its current state of affairs and give us a report next month.
Yeah.
Well, his report tonight said he hopes to know more in April.
Very good. Let's add it then to Committee Improvements Committee report, or Capital Improvements Committee report. And let's make that first.
Okay,
Let's make that point A.
okay.
We move on to old business. We have 2 points. Discuss IAPD Code of Conduct, as well as the videotaping of public board meetings. These, in spirit, really revolve around the same point, notably the video recording of public board meetings. I thought originally to bring forward the Code of Conduct so that we might sit down, review it as a board, and find in its details where the recording and commentary on board minutes was perhaps inappropriate or uncalled for. I have a copy of the Code of Conduct with me this evening. We have looked at it previously. 4 of the 5 commissioners have signed it. Dan, will you consider signing it?
I would like us to get a copy of it next month, and let's read it together, and I would consider it.
Very good.
I've got a copy right here if you want.
Do you? Well then, I would be very happy to review its details right now. Would you pass it along? Or
I
perhaps,
just have one copy,
would you read it or would you like me to read it?
but I don't think you're gonna want me to read 23 points.
It's 23 points.
That's what I thought, it would be helpful to have all of us to have a copy, and perhaps Brian could just email us all a copy.
You've had a copy of this in the
Well, for the
past.
discussion, though, I think it would be important to have a copy in front of us, because I would like to go over different points. That's one reason why I didn't sign it initially. And I think it'd be helpful to have copies so we could have a conversation about it. That's all. But I would consider it, definitely.
Okay, so let's do that for next meeting.
Just so I understand, so Brian will get everybody a copy by the April meeting?
Well, just send a digital copy to us by email, and that way we can review it before then. Thank you, Rita.
We also have the point of discussing videotaping of public board meetings. My investigations show that Dan is posting these to, I think, your site and then sharing them so that they appear on the Ridgeville Park District homepage, which is to say the Ridgeville Park District Facebook page.
I've never posted to Ridgeville Park District.
So it is shared online, but the minutes are not on the Ridgeville Park District Facebook page.
I think that's what we had talked about before, was if we're gonna do video of meetings, we should post it on the Ridgeville Park District page.
Yes, you can find them with a general search of Ridgeville Park District, and they show up there, but they don't show up on the Park District page, which, if that's the purpose of the Facebook page, and I think it is, which is to represent the district, isn't that where they belong?
I agree. In fact, what we had, this is really the first time where we've had a formal, agenda item to talk about the recording of the board meetings through digital, not videotaping. There's no video recording. It's Facebook Live. And last month, when we informally talked about it, I believe we had consensus.
We had a point on, we actually had an agenda item last
Right, but
time.
we didn't have a full board, so we postponed it to this month. So this is the first time where we're actually
Yeah,
having a
full
discussion.
board.
Right. So last month, we informally, though, it sounded like we were getting close to consensus on the idea, if we could find non-intrusive spot, you know, in the board meeting area, similar to what the city does, to have, now I use a telephone, but maybe there's another device we could use, but nonetheless, some device that could sit somewhere that's kind of out of the way and just Facebook Live our meeting, and that could be directly to the Ridgeville Facebook site. But in the interim, until we've discovered that, any Facebook Live streaming that I do is available to the public, and Ridgeville's very welcome to it, absolutely. All you do is you click on a link and it goes on the site, so. But I don't have access, I don't have privilege, administrative privileges to Ridgeville, if that makes sense.
I'd also like to add something. You know, Facebook, everybody 35 and under are considered, millennials. This is the way that they communicate, it's through social media. I know it might, seem like it's kind of obtrusive to us, but this is the future. One of the things that I've appreciated particularly about Dan is that Dan's been all around for the mayoral debates, for the aldermanic debates, all the forums, 65 and 202, but with the camera, with his phone, he's been able to broadcast that to many, many people. In fact, I'll just give another little story. He was at New Trier. New Trier had a board meeting about, and it was a pretty interesting topic because they were talking about whether or not to include in their board something to do with race and bringing in someone to actually teach them. And it was a big topic where they had a disagreement on. But Dan was there. He was able to Facebook that to probably, I would say, close to 2,000 people.
13,000.
Okay, 13,000 people. But my point is that I don't think we can get away from any videotaping. There's nothing illegal about it. Facebook is going to be there. It's a great medium to actually give to people. City of Evanston, for their council meetings, if you don't have cable, I don't have cable. I can't watch it unless I go to the city's website and get it afterwards. But if you've got Wi-Fi and you've got access to the internet, you can Facebook Live. So I'm actually for that. So I just wanted to mention that this is coming. We can't run from it. This is something that makes it accessible to a lot of people who are right in the 8th, 9th, 4th, and 2nd Ward who want to watch our meetings but can't physically make it to a meeting. It's great.
Yeah, I think what we had talked about was just the venue for it, and we had talked about putting it up on the Ridgeville Facebook page, and sort of just the logistics of making that happen, and I think we probably would want a vote on that, whether or not we want that to happen.
We currently have a policy about posting that has our audio recordings going to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, that's managed by Brian and Natalie. They control the account, so it makes sense. If we were to post on Facebook, the video would presumably be posted by the person controlling the Ridgeville Park District account.
Right. So, that would be nice.
Go ahead, Eric.
It's not really, I'm not being one of the commissioners, not really my place, but
So why are you talking?
because I raised my hand and asked permission, I just want to,
Okay.
I think the one thing in the discussion to try and keep separate is what you need to do to be in compliance with the Illinois Opens Meeting Act and what you're trying to do just to speak to the millennials and the constituents, because I think they're two different issues that.
One's mandated, the other's assistance.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, one is a record that you may need for legal proceedings and the other is not.
So in order to post video recording to our Facebook page, that's a function simply of having a phone available, either volunteered or one funded by the district that would record those minutes and post them.
That's right. Similar to what I've been doing, and it is a little, I agree with the commissioners that it can be a bit of a distraction sitting here on the table. So I loved Commissioner Kavode's idea of maybe a shelf or something, so it's kind of out of the way. You know, people aren't thinking about it. We can let everyone know we're Facebooking live, but the actual device doesn't necessarily have to be on a table or in our way. It can just sit there for the meeting. And someone from our staff could just click a button and it gets posted. What I've discovered is that if it's your device, as soon as the meeting's done, you push a button and that stops the live stream. And then about 1 second later, you push a button and in 5 seconds it posts on Facebook. It's that simple. There's no time really necessary or staff time to do it. It's just pushing a button.
No, this time it seems it's really the matter of finding a place to put it and making a policy that we provide video recordings.
What I also discovered is that in putting it in different places, the Wi-Fi signal varies a lot. It's not consistent. And there might be a way for us to put a booster in. Usually at Radio Shack, you can pick up a booster for your Wi-Fi, and that allows that signal to be pretty much distributed throughout the room. So I discovered that this shelf area here, you don't get a signal, but for some reason you do here. So I think it's just a matter of, boosting it somehow.
Very good. So perhaps a motion in the next month, revision of our current practice or our current policy that has us posting video to our Facebook page. Would that be sufficient for you?
Would be wonderful.
Yeah?
Yeah, now for example, tonight, I'm not sure anybody's recording. Do we have a recording? We don't.
Yes, no,
We do?
our open meetings recording is.
Right here, okay. So what we have been doing for the longest time, at least the 3 years I've been here, is we've used the audio recorder. What I've heard back from constituents is when they go back and try to listen to that audio recording, it's hard to hear and many times it's muffled, and more likely they're not sure who's speaking. The advantage to having really a video kind of digital stream is you can actually see the people, and you're more involved, I guess, engaged in that meeting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very good. And it would save you from having to record our meetings.
Great.
Okay. I look forward to, perhaps you'll draft that motion then for next
Sure.
month? Okay.
And I'll work with staff too to test out different areas. It's pretty simple to test out. You just put your device in different spots, and if there's not a signal, there's not a signal. So that's where we probably put our shelf.
Other points of discussion on this? Very good. Moving on to new business, and thank you for sticking around with us, Natalie. Summer staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I copied, you should have a copy of the employees in your folders. Everybody should, except for me.
That is, it's a balance paper. There's mine. There's.
I don't think I had to do the extras, Natalie.
You have mine.
Mike is actually an employee.
Is Mike still actually an employee?
Yeah, he's been training me, and he's around if he checks in with me like usually once every week or so to make sure that I know what's going on, and helps me with like website things.
How many hours a week is Mike here, do you know? I'm just asking.
Oh gosh, not even a week. He meets with me for an hour, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Very good. We have a motion on the table to approve these individuals for employment.
I make a motion that we approve them.
Second?
Second.
I'd like a discussion if I can, Mr. President.
Certainly.
The reason we need a motion on these employees in particular, versus just hiring people, is that we have a policy as a district on nepotism. And that is, anytime there's a proposal to hire a family member of either our director or staff or board members, that we need to, because of the nepotism policy we have a motion and have it approved by a majority of the board.
We do.
It's my understanding that with these employees, Kevin and Darren are brothers. So that's why they're on part of this motion, because of the nepotism. If just one of them, for instance, was being hired, we wouldn't need to have a motion. But since there's both, and one supervising the other, that's part of the nepotism rule.
The Darren and Kevin, does one supervise the other, or do they just happen to work side by side?
Kevin, one of them's in charge of the...
Darren's in charge.
Yeah.
Darren and Kevin?
Yeah. The other one, Lois Rosinski, she's Brian Rosinski's wife, and of course that fits our nepotism policy. She would have to be approved if we hire her. Then Rita McCourt is our board member's wife, Commissioner McCourt's, and also that has to be approved. At least once a year is, I think, our policy.
It's helpful to recognize as well the spirit upholding or informing most policies around nepotism involve discrimination and preferential hiring. The notion being that we need to look very closely to ensure that the choice of someone known, familiar, or familial doesn't in fact discriminate against someone perhaps more qualified. We've reviewed these individuals in the past, and that includes Mike, Darrow, and Patrick, who happen to be brothers. And because of how the different family members happen to work together, because of whom they report to, and for the quality of their work, which we have found year in and year out to be superior and of real value to the district, that the names haven't changed. We keep bringing them back, and we continue to approve them.
I hadn't quite finished, if I could, Mr. President.
Please.
What I was trying to get to is that, just to clarify for our constituents, that the reason why they're on this list is because of our nepotism policy. Now, the board knows I'm adamantly opposed to us hiring any family members. Let me speak, please. I'm opposed to hiring any family members that are related to our director, our staff, or our board members. But our board has voted in the past 4 votes out of 5 to support this. And I just want to clarify that one reason that I feel strongly about it is that I find it as an insult, the idea or the argument that these folks happen to be so much better than the other folks that live in our constituents or other folks that might be able to compete for these positions. I believe everyone except for Rita lives in our district. The rest live outside the district. And I know, as a member of this community that's lived here for 25 years, we have phenomenal constituents who could easily fit the qualifications and serve in this board in this capacity. And for that reason, when we come to a vote, I have to vote no, out of conscience, out of moral and ethical reasons. But I do understand if the majority of our board wants to do this, then we will.
Because the majority of the board simply doesn't see it the way you do, yes. We don't actually see the lack of quality. We don't see the preferential hiring. We don't share the moral outrage because it's entirely absent within us and around us that we continue hiring these quality candidates. Now, of course, should our current employees, who, were they remiss in hiring quality candidates, we would have to dismiss, were to bring us perhaps other candidates with better credentials to fill the positions I might add that probably could net more income in another park district, then we would certainly entertain it. But that being the case, we haven't. What we continue finding year in and year out are quality candidates who believe in the district and want to keep coming back to work for us in much the same sense that our current full-time employees continue coming back.
I understand the rational argument you're making.
It's not rational. It's emotional and spiritually informed.
But it is rational. I mean, I understand the logic behind it. That's my point. But there are those in our district who would disagree like me, because it would be hard to understand how the husbands, the brothers, the relatives of these folks, how these people who are making this decision, as you described, could be open-minded to others who aren't in their family. So that's the one reason why I strongly support a zero tolerance for nepotism in a public tax body, so that we don't have constituents who feel like it's an unfair system when it comes to employment. That's just the other side of the argument.
It is. Any other points on discussion? Very well. We move on to other new business.
We
Do a vote.
I'm sorry, we need to vote on this.
I wanted to just quickly add to you had asked a question about Mike Miro. In the February payroll reports, it showed he was paid no money. And if you look at the appropriations ledger, he's drawn about $657 so far out of a budget of $2,000. So, I mean,
And Mike's only on here because Patrick is his brother, is that correct?
No.
Oh, is,
Yeah.
but he's, I mean, I have no problem with Mike Miller. I just want that stated.
Maybe they're trying
yeah.
to show the relationship.
Yeah, they're brothers, but from,
Right. Sure.
Very good, we have a motion on the table. If there are no other points for discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you want to call for the no?
All against?
Aye.
Very good, that's a 3-2. We move along to other new business, which I had a handwritten mention of Dr. Benson Thomas, who's very good. We move along to citizen comment, part 2.
Let's do formal greetings from the Ridgeville Foundation. Hello again. Yeah, I encourage you to take a walk around the park someday soon when it's sunny. We've gotten a few warm days, and you'll find 5 or 6 little rock gardens that were made by Ridgeville folks and other Evanstonians who came to the Rocks and Rolls event, which was kind of co-sponsored by the district and the foundation, as well as part of the Winter Hearth series. So that was a fun thing. And at the foundation, we're looking for more cultural, artistic ways to enhance the district. You know, we've done theatrical arts through the years with the Shakespeare on the Ridge. We're looking to bring more concerts to the parks this summer through Concerts on the Ridge, and we'll be in discussions with the district to figure out how that can go. And then in the future, scoping out what visual artistic embellishments for the district will look like too. So if you have any musical or visual artists in your black book, send them my way. I'm looking forward to seeing what creative things we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we have no other points of discussion, very good. Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
It's posted, right? That's okay. It's posted. It's that.
Oh, wow, already?
And see then, with the history of Ridgeville, all they do is